there, Steve.
Hello there.
How how you doing, man?
Good, yourself?
It's I'm in Arizona, so the weather's getting a little cooler. Enjoying being outside a little bit, so it's kind of cool. Mid 90s, cooler. When you deal with 110, 115, the mid 90s, you're like, yeah, it's almost sweater weather.
Nice.
What's it like up there?
Um,
I mean, because clearly not going on right there. You're not on the
we're
beat.
we're we're in Celsius, so I think it's about 10, maybe 12. I don't know. So I don't know what that translates into
I don't
Fahrenheit.
know either. That's a good question. So I have some homework to do afterwards, so I can figure out what the hell's going
Nice.
on. Hey, so I thought it'd be kind of cool to get you on to talk about the current market right now. I talked to Scott from Category One the other day, and had an interesting conversation with him. And I wanted to see what your thoughts were, how things were going with you, how sales have been for you. Um, first off, like pricing. Have you seen like just obscene pricing going on right now for Raw Deal? I mean, as a seller, I go, yeah, great, awesome, but I'm a little reluctant to change a lot of pricing to these new values. Like, let's just talk about Armageddon's upon us.
Yeah.
That's consistently selling now. Like, well, I say consistently, like twice now. It's sold for over 130 plus.
Yeah.
Is that the new norm? Is that the new pricing now for that? Do we raise our prices? I mean, I'm not sure.
I think it's just that everybody got their, I don't know, COVID money or whatever money, and they're just putting it up in collectibles, right? They're like, collectibles are safe-ish. You can resell them. So they're like little bonds you can play with. And I think they targeted like higher end stuff because I see it also for Yu-Gi-Oh cards, for Magic cards. Magic, there's this thing called the reserve list, cards they're not allowed to reprint. Those cards are going all over the place. One card recently shot up from 2,000 to 10,000, which is ridiculous. In Yu-Gi-Oh, there's like ultimate rares, which is like a rarity they're not printing anymore. So that's like kind of their reserve list. So I guess for Raw Deal, well, everything's never being reprinted as far as we know. So they're just targeting the higher end stuff, right? Like Brothers till the end, Armageddon, everything that's multi-superstar is already getting targeted. Even I've got two words for you is definitely getting like hyped up, paid, late, and made. All those cards are just like taking off. And I just, every time I make a sale, I just got to put up that price because I'm like, I don't have infinite copies of this stuff. So
that's what, Scott and I were talking about that too. And we both agree, like, there's no warehouse out there that's going to go, oh, hey, Steve, you need to order some more paid, late, and maids. But we got them for you. Go ahead. I mean, it doesn't exist. And no one's really cracking open product right now and say like, I'm going to crack open product and look for those cards. I can sell them, because even sealed product is hard to come by.
Yeah, I still have, I think I have bought out the last of, what are they called again? Hills Wholesale Gaming. Yeah, I have a bunch of Summer Slams and what's the other one?
Probably to have like Velocity, Summer Slam.
Vengeance. Yeah, Vengeance. All those like lesser selling sets. Yeah.
Sure.
Royal Rumble, actually, I still have a bunch of those because I know with your cardboard currency thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, once we talked about that, and I posted about that, the product went through the roof.
Yeah, definitely.
People thought those were kind of handed out or issued out, but they were all inserted in packs. Because the pricing across the board, even like a Rock Foot Stomp, which was already a very high price card, went up.
I mean, I haven't had any in stock for years now, so
I just sold one. I just sold one this past week.
Damn.
I mean, I had it listed to my normal price for it. Now I raised it, some time ago, raised it to 250, and I had a slightly, like a little nick with the foil coming up on it like that. So I lowered it. I said 225, man. I said even at a little bit, not even, I wouldn't say damaged, but a little bit like played or whatever it's like that. It definitely was used. It's still hard to come by. I'm not going to be able to replace that. Like it's sold immediately. I'm just seeing a huge increase. I don't know if this is the new norm. Like you said, people's, stimulus checks are coming in. But here we are in October. Are they still coming in? Stimulus checks? This was back in like April, May.
No. But I mean, like, even if they're not coming in, I think people are still just looking for like, quote unquote, sure things to invest in. Everybody, like a lot of my friends, one of my friends actually invests in actual stocks. And he's like, if you ever need advice investing in stuff, let me know. And I'm like, what are people usually investing in? And he's like, strangely enough, well, not strangely enough, but collectibles, right?
Yep.
So everybody's into like the magic cards and everything else. Like you're seeing on this Dead TCG forum on Facebook, you're seeing people posting whatever, and everybody's just buying it up. Like there's not going to be any more card games. Like what's going on?
Yeah, are all these people like into something that we don't know about? Is Armageddon coming or something? What the hell's going on? And why would you spend money on shit like if it's Armageddon's coming? That's the last thing I'd spend my money on. I'd be buying, fake virtual backdrops like I'm at the beach or something.
I didn't buy it; it was free.
I just, it's incredible to see the pricing going. It keeps going through the roof, and just, you have your cards like you named all the staples, but even, other cards are just kind of go. All the cards are kind of go up in value. I mean, even like Get the F Outs are going up.
Yeah, but that card, yeah, I feel like Get the F Out is one of those cards that's probably not priced. It was never really priced high enough because it's just such a good card. Like at the fortitude cost, the versatility of it, it reverses pretty much most of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always had trouble. Like it was the one card I had the most trouble like buying versus selling because I was buying it at like $10 and selling it at 15 at some point, or even 13 or something, just to like have them in stock because that card was just like never staying in stock.
Yeah, my prices are at 15 on those cards. I got 3, and I recently came across a lot that I got from locally here, which is unheard of, here in Phoenix. And it turns out, a friend of a friend who this lady, her friend's husband passed away, and he was a collector player. And it had the foot stomp throwback, and it had Get the F Outs in it. It had, it had one place that I put them up. They were gone the first day at $15 a piece. They were gone. So I mean, the pricing is still holding very, very strong, and a lot of things are going up in price too, which is incredible. Are you finding it more difficult to buy stuff right now, getting inventory in? I mean, obviously, hard to find stuff. The first to stop, the throwbacks, things like that are always difficult. But are you having a hard time?
I would say an almost impossible time, actually. I know a lot of people like prefer shipping to the States because, well, most of the people that have this inventory are in the States. Mm-hmm. Even people that used to buy this to me were mostly in the States. So definitely they don't want to pay, like, even though I tell them I'd cover like the shipping, tracking, whatever, just to get it over. Mm-hmm. They're always reluctant to ship it over to here to Canada. So it's definitely harder to buy. So I always like look through my extra bulk boxes. I sometimes even just crack some packs of sets where I feel like if I hit X and X, such and such rare, it's probably still worth it to just open it to put it into inventory. Like actually, I think Royal Rumble is one of those sets where even if you don't get anything big, your pack's always good because they're always like super playable. Like the power creep was real as of like Unforgiven and on. So like set 17 plus. So Royal Rumble is just after that, right? It's at 18. And even like some commons in Royal Rumble are like $1 or $2. So
well, SS3 came out. SS3 came out just before Royal Rumble, and Royal Rumble fixed some of those errors, because you had a box topper every single box. But we haven't released it yet. But we did, because I'm trying to archive some of these. This one's going to go up immediately. But we did a recap, a review of the release of SS3 and Royal Rumble, since it was kind of right together almost. And we talked about that, how at Royal Rumble, not just because looking for cardboard currency, but the power cards that came in that box are a lot of times overlooked. There's some really good stuff, like in rares and even some uncommons in there.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like it was, they kind of sensed, I believe, at SS3 that the game was kind of like dying, I guess.
Oh, you need to watch our episode. I just had Brian Antigoth on an episode. We just posted it about what was the death of Raw Deal. What killed Raw Deal.
And what did he say? It was
you got to watch it.
Evolution, I guess. Oh yeah,
you got to watch it.
All right. Yeah. But I mean,
there's a lot of factors.
Already as a Magic player at the time, analyzing Raw Deal versus Magic, we're like, man, these cards, these throwbacks are just like always better than the original. So we're like, yeah, there's a sense of like catching up with like superstars and making your cards more powerful, whatever. but at the same time, they just want to make more sales, right? So if they're reselling you yet another like whatever Rock Foot Stomp, right? You want to give people a chance to play Rock. Well, his regular Foot Stomp was, let's face it, pretty crappy, right? And you could pack 3 of them. So this card is just like super overpowered. I think even at the time, it was probably still a $50 card back then.
Oh yeah.
Where like a $50 card back then was like unheard of. It was just like super pricey. So you kind of like sense when a game starts to do that, that they're kind of like either ending it or they're taking it to a whole new level where you just know that your older stuff's gonna be like almost forever obsolete. Like I know that was a general complaint for like the Dragon Ball games before made by Score. A lot of people have that complaint for Yu-Gi-Oh, but I feel Yu-Gi-Oh does a good job at catching up and making those older cards relevant with some newer cards. They always kind of like intertwine everything because I don't know if you're familiar with Magic a bit, but basically like there's no like standard format. You know, Magic, there's always like the last 2 sets and everybody's like more into that. Well, not anymore because of Magic Arena. But for Yu-Gi-Oh, everything's always like, everything's legal all the time. So their ban list changes every 3 months and it keeps things like pretty spicy, actually. It fluctuates a lot of card prices. And I feel like Raw Deal, actually, I don't feel ever really had a ban list, if I'm not mistaken.
They never had a ban list, but what they tried to do was to create the Afterburn format.
There was Afterburn and Velocity format, I think, right?
I think so, yeah. But mostly it was, I mean, when you got to that point, it became the Afterburn format. I mean, really.
Yeah. And
which became a format that you were required to play at Worlds.
Yeah, which I think that's totally legit, right? Because you want to get like the newer players into it, and that's kind of what Standard does for Magic, right? Like if you don't have a collection, just buy a couple of these intro packs, get some boosters, pimp out your deck, whatever, go play. You'll win a pack or 2. It gives everybody a fighting chance. Where I think Raw Deal had this like huge barrier to entry at some point. If you wanted to play Triple H, man, that was an expensive deck even back then, right?
Yeah.
I think actually for the rares, like Manager Interferes, from what I remember, was always like $5 to $10. It was never like a cheap card, you know, even for a staple that you found in starters sometimes. I think a Revolution of the Mind was still kind of pricey. So, and again, like the fact that you needed all these like pricey reversal cards that you're kind of like forced to play in your deck, it didn't really entice a lot of the newer players, I think, to pick up this game.
Yeah, I encourage you to check out that episode. So we did talk about that, and we cover a lot of ground on that. And not only was it a game design thing, but there was also some, you know, there's pressure from WWE. Then the game creators themselves, you know, decided they wanted to take things. You know, it was a lot of moving parts that kind of helped push it towards that. Like, oh, let's just go ahead and do a last ditch effort of like doing Revolution, and then gone. You know. But it also came down to like just no longer, you know, making enough money to warrant keeping a license like that. But again, that's a whole episode that we covered that. But in the market going on right now with a high price and stuff like that, and then now so demand's at a peak. It really is at a peak right now, and I'm noticing a lot of new players coming in that are playing right now as well. In addition to a few people that are saying like, oh, I used to play back in Backlash or Velocity or Insurrection Time, are now getting back into it because they got nothing else to do at home. So I mean, they're getting into it, and I think those are driving prices up too.
I just think like the main factor right now is people just trying to complete their collections, just to say they have like one of everything or a play set of everything, because that's mostly what I seem to be selling. Like you'll see the guy grabbing a few pieces from like Christian, which is like, I haven't sold Christian cards in like the longest time. I think he was one of the better guys at the beginning, and then like over time it just became like almost unplayable. Like
when you start selling some more A-Train or Spike Dudley, you let me know.
Oh my god!
Now you know the end of times are coming.
I actually sold a few Spike Dudley cards, and I was like, this is quite special.
You're like, I'm going to Sizzler.
Oh yeah. But I mean, sometimes actually you'll see a list where the first 20 actions on your list are like in that order, and you're like, well, clearly this is for a collection because like half of these cards are like beyond unplayable, right?
Yeah, I get a lot of guys like that who are looking for. You get customers who are like, I only want cards with WWF backs, the old WWF back, or so they're looking for early stuff, pre 20, 2002 stuff. So, um, I get some people like that every once in a while. Then you get others who are like, you see those boards on the groups, which we'll talk about here in a second. They'll look like, yeah, I'm looking for a few cards. I'm getting back in, so I'm looking for Armageddon's Upon Us, Payday, looking for Helps in the Way, all this SS3 stuff. And I just saw someone else posted saying like, oh yeah, so I'm looking for a cardboard currency, this and that. I'm like, wow. So I mean, your list is pretty easy, I guess, huh? But so the boards, I see you were kind of dormant for a while. You weren't on the boards for a little bit. I wasn't seeing you commenting, posting, liking anything too much. And then all of a sudden, the last 24, 48 hours, I've seen you liking more stuff, commenting.
I try to participate when I can. I just felt like a lot of the posts were pretty boring because they were not talking a lot about the game. They were mostly just like talking about like values of cards and stuff, and like, yeah, that's kind of interesting, but at the same time, like,
well, you're on the other side of the table where you're one of the guys that it's helping setting the pricing bar. So I mean, that's kind of, yeah, you guys want to talk pricing, that's great. That's what I do. But I mean, I've seen a lot of guys on there, so I see the boards are being dominated mostly by sell, and as they call them, we've even known now as the backpackers, that they call them like that. I wasn't privy to this term until recently, so now I joke around with a couple guys through messaging like that, talking about, because I made a post today. I think you saw my post where I was selling some really damaged stuff that I got in this last lot. I got a whole bunch of Edge stuff that had a You Think You Know Me and Edge's Running Spear and the Education of Adam Copeland. And then I had a First to Tap original and a Stone Cold Stunner original and a Team Extreme original. They were all fucked up. They were all really bad, just like that. And I thought, do I want to ship this to my partner in Wisconsin and have him deal with all this? I just maybe throw them out, see if anybody's interested in them. I had no price in mind. Guys threw me prices and I go, sold, no big deal, sold. Sold them all. They were all gone. I shot video to the guys who wanted them to give them a view of the cards. So they can see how bad they were. And all of a sudden, like, hey, Tony's now turning into a backpacker. And I'm like, no. But are you finding that these quote unquote backpackers are having an effect on your sales? And honestly, I'm a no bullshit person. So despite what some of the people out there that may want to think about me, VelaCards like that, I don't bullshit. I'll tell you exactly what it is. And I tell you right now, backpackers do have an effect on my sales. They do. Do they have a drastic effect on my sales? Not necessarily, but they do have an effect.
So yeah, I think the term backpacker, from what I'm remembering, is for a lot of the Magic events, because it's mostly Magic. You'd go to like a Grand Prix where you'd have dealers that pay for their booths, so they're buying and selling cards, right? And the backpacker is just kind of like the guy that tries to like grind out the value, and he's just there to like trade with everybody and then probably resell back to the stores. For a while, that was good, but at a certain point, like, he'll just convince all the people. Well, everybody knows this as a common knowledge thing, but if you trade to a person rather than trading to a store, you'll get a bigger percentage. You can fair trade, whatever. So that's kind of what they do. And they're kind of annoying, but in the grand scheme of things, for a Magic Grand Prix, they're not that bad, right? Because like everybody kind of knew who they were from city to city. So when you see the same guy in Jersey and then you see him again in Detroit, and all he has is like huge ass binders, and he has like 10 of them laid out at the table, and it's like, hey, you want to trade? You want to trade?
Yeah.
Well, it's not like containable within a backpack. He pretty much has his what's it called, his travel bag and everything with him, and he's just like running a mobile store. And I was like accused of being that in Magic, where I found that funny because I only had 5 regular little binders, but they were good cards. So like, cool, like I'm a backpacker, but I guess that was mostly around the local stores. But in a bigger event, like doing that, you like literally don't have as much as anybody else, right? Especially since I'm from Canada, I'm not gonna bring over like infinite stuff, right? I can't. Sometimes
You
if
can't
you
get
get
across
checked
the border with it.
yeah, exactly. So like that's not happening. But I think for Raw Deal, it's tougher to be like an actual backpacker. I guess like I want to call it like more of a Facebook marketplace kind of guy where you're just like undercutting the online store and you're making the price more alluring to people, and you're basically just trying to sell your cards without selling them to the store. That's in the end, that's kind of what these guys are, right?
Well, you're kind of meeting that middle ground, I think, where you're like, I don't want to sell it to the store for their buy price because it's too low, but I also don't want to sell for their high price. They meet somewhere in the middle and try and get it. But eventually they're going to run out of inventory, because I talked about with Scott as well too, and Scott says it so eloquently, really, because he's such a smart business guy, that he mentions that there are certain guys who would sell some of the games that he sold. Like all of a sudden, somebody out of nowhere started creating a website devoted to a particular dead card game, as we call them, dead card games, and he was undercutting everybody just because he could, because he had this cool collection he had. But eventually, he's not making enough money back to go and buy new inventory, and he'll just kind of fade away. And I don't wonder if is that the same thing with backpackers?
I think he is making enough money back to rebuy stuff. He just chooses not to. Like a lot of these people, you gotta figure out that you gotta restock if you want to continue doing this. And a lot of
some of these guys are not. They're not in it to make it a business out of it. I think a lot of these guys are in it to fuel their inventory, their collection, and then taking their profits. You're making money and their profits to buy their collection while selling the crap they don't need anymore.
Yeah, I think they just don't see the long-term thing, right? And they're not willing to pay the premium to hold an inventory, so they're just kind of filtering their quote-unquote crap, which, as we all know in Raw Deal, yeah, like the card might be crap, but it's still gonna sell. Like I've sold Big Boot. Like this card is unplayable, right? Like it's 6/6 vanilla. Or Punch or whatever. And I'm like describing this to other people, and I'm like, what other card game are you going to sell such basic do nothing cards, right? I think these backpackers just don't have a long-term vision. They're not trying. They don't have an online store where they have to pay a monthly fee. Like they don't have that online.
There's no overhead.
Yeah. Well, it's a small overhead, to be fair, right?
True,
like they
correct.
take a percentage compared to having a brick and mortar. I think it's a tiny overhead, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the tiny overhead is what allowed me to basically have the online store before considering having a physical store, which now with COVID is like, thank God I didn't go into that, right? But these backpackers, they just want to make essentially a quick buck and fuel their collection and do whatever. But in the long term, they're the same person that when you need like other basic cards, they just don't have them. Like I still have like 60 copies of Manager Interference because I bought them off of all these people. I bought collections. And I think these backpackers try to do that through like I don't know what they're called. I guess it's still Kijiji in the States. Is that a thing? The classifieds, right? Like
sure.
the online classifieds. That's what it's called in Canada, I guess. Well, I know it's called that in Canada, but basically they go from city to city and they post buying this, buying that, and they're free classifieds, right?
Sure.
So yeah, it gives you like a few fish and you get a few bites. But in the end, like a lot of the people that have sold me their collections are people that just used to play. Like this one guy called James Kanziolka. He was one of their world champions.
I had him on. I interviewed him.
Yeah, he used to play World of Warcraft also at one point, and I had met him at a Grand Prix when they were called Grand Prix. Now they're called Magic Fests in Jersey. And he's just like, yeah, I got this. What do you give me for it? I quickly flipped through it. I gave him a price. We were good. And he's like, yeah, man, if I ever find more collections, more cards. So a lot of people are actively hunting these, which is something like I can kind of try to do. But in the end, like I think everybody's going away from like the classified stuff to just everybody's on Facebook, right? So on Facebook, well, it's not hard, right? You type Raw Deal. Oh, look, there's a couple of groups. Oh, look, I want to sell this. That's it, right? It's like,
and all you gotta do is just take a picture, boom, done.
Social media has made it so easy for people to just sell that I remember recently hearing or seeing that the governments are like cracking down on those kind of sales, right? Because in the end, it is revenue. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what's going to happen with that, but I'm not worried because I don't really sell much on Facebook, right? I have my own legit stuff. But these backpacker guys, like that's another thing, right? It's like stuff that they don't have to pay taxes on. They don't have to pay anything on, not even processing fees, because they usually ask you to send a gift payment.
Yeah.
So it's
Which
just
is
like
it's amazing to me how openly people ask, send friends and family, which is the gift. And I remember, because I'm an old school PayPal guy. I mean, I got into PayPal 7-8 months after they became a company. And I just they used to frown upon, like they would monitor how often you would request and ask for friends and, well, it used to be just called gifting. Now it's called friends and family. But they would monitor that and they would flag you if you did it too many times. Now it's just like doesn't matter. They don't care.
I usually get charged actually for friends and family, but I think that's mostly because I'm doing it in the States. So there's probably like
a conversion fee or conversion maybe.
No, it's not, because I already pay them in US.
Okay.
Right. I just think it's because like if you're doing it like between countries, then it's less credible that it's a friends and family. You know what I'm saying? Like
true. Okay.
If I transfer to somebody in Canada, I could basically, if it's somebody locally, I could just e-transfer them with Interac or whatever. But with PayPal, I never had any problems in Canada. It's really in the States that they get that little.
Okay. I haven't heard anybody ever mention that. And it happened to me, God, years and years and years ago. They told me that, I'd already exceeded or I was coming across, or they'd noticed some weird activity on my account and wanted to make sure I was aware of it. If you're selling goods and services, you have to make sure you use goods and services and not just, gifting everything. I'm like, okay, all right. But on the flip side of that too, if you gift something or friends and family, then you're not protected. So there's no PayPal protection there. But are you have a line of buy list? You have people have a lot of buy lists with your site?
Yeah, my buy list has been on since day one, and
are you getting a lot of buy lists that way, or is that slowed down?
Well, that's what I meant. Like a lot of the buy lists, like I said earlier, has slowed. Like I think since COVID, I got maybe like 5 buy lists. Like it's not happening. Like
I've noticed a very, very. So you think it's because there's a weird conundrum there. I mean, is it? We have COVID. We can throw the blame at that, I guess. But also, if the prices keep going up, but our buy list prices don't keep going up, so now it looks like we're too cheap. I don't know what kind of percentile you work on, but I think the standard usually is somewhere between 25 and 45 some odd percent. So it's usually you try to buy price that's like that.
Oh, no. On hot cards, I give up to 75%.
Okay.
Like, I need this, because the thing is, like, once you get Armageddon is upon us, or help's on the way or whatever, you're gonna insta sell it. So you're like, whatever, I'm better off making a smaller percentage, but as soon as I buy it, I know I'm flipping it, right? That's like it's I have that mentality with Magic cards, but to a lesser degree, because Magic, it's easier to get these cards because everybody has more Magic cards, right? They're still in print. For Raw Deal, you're just like, well, who else has this card, right? Like I have to give such a high percentage. Like some cards are what, $25, and I straight up give $20. Like I almost give you like even trade for the card, just to have it, just to be able to sell it. But that's cards I like legit have 0 in stock, right? That doesn't really include signature cards, because like whatever, like those you're not even sure necessarily to sell certain signatures, so you can't really like take that chance.
It's a risky market for the signature ones too, because of all the people who like to go ahead and get erase and and do make their own kind of thing. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. So because sometimes what ends up, if you do an almost a 70% buy or 75% buy or whatever, almost like you said, an even trade. So and you get that particular card that's in high demand into your inventory, it could also turn into an actual a leader in sales, because they'll tack on some more cards onto their orders like that. So you're actually making money that way. But I get it. Yeah.
But I feel like for a lot of cards, I try the cards that are worth like at least close to $10, I try to give at least 50%, because I feel like those cards are like the movers and shakers, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember in the glory days, a Revolution of the Mind, I used to sell that for $12, buy it, no bullshit, $1. I'd have 70 revolutions of the mind bought at $1. And now I don't even know what's happening. These cards, you can't buy them. The price is like 17 bucks now or 18, some ridiculous price. It comes in some starters. So I actually had to monitor some of my starters to see, oh man, it has revolution. I got to boost that price up, sadly, you know.
Yeah, you have to.
Oh yeah.
Or you just, you know what? It makes more money for me just to crack that starter open and just take the.
Yeah. Sad truth.
Because it's one of, you know, at least 2 to 4 rares that you're going to get depending on the starter, you know.
Oh yeah.
It's just ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, margins are, you know, shrinking in some tons or getting bigger. And I don't know. It's just the whole market is crazy. It's a whole, like you said, it's collectibles across the board, because even in the trading card world right now, when you have, you know, I also do wrestling trading cards. When you have some old like 82 wrestling all-star cards, like Hulk Hogan cards, selling for $20,000 now on sold for $20,000. It's a signed copy of one that got a 9.5 or a 9 rating, so like that. And grading is a whole different thing too. Like my other channel talking about that, we're going to have a whole discussion is strictly about grading. I've got one guy who hates grading. I got one guy who loves grading, and we're going to have a wonderful conversation about it. But the market is just on fire across all collectibles, and I deal with the cardboard side of it. So all that cardboard stuff, including Raw Deal, is just going to the roof. And it's gotten to the point where I could sit on my prices for a few years. I have to really make any price adjustments. It just kind of sat there stagnant for a long time. Like it sell, and if I get in it, still sell, but you know, nothing fluctuating. And now I have to be on it all the damn time.
Oh yeah. Well, I've seen, it's not exactly the same thing, but I've seen on YouTube, there was this one guy that he was buying Pokemon sealed boxes. I forgot what set it was. The first box he bought was 11,000. Then he kept paying more and more and more until he had, I don't know, like 20 of them, but he had all the ones that were available. And now that box is worth like 100 something thousand. It's just like freaking stupid, right? Like the guy
because these guys are they're cornering the market. They're creating a demand for it. They're the only ones of the supply. Now you control the market.
But that's the thing. I don't think they're necessarily creating a demand, but they're creating an artificial demand at the beginning, driving up the price. And now this is like the price, but who's really willing to buy them at that price except that one guy that like stacked all of them? You know, like the guy had money. He's like a millionaire. It doesn't matter to him, right?
Wasn't some rapper dude that just bought some boxes of Pokemon for like mad money?
I'm not sure. I think it's
I think it was on TMZ or something.
No, it's a guy called Logan Paul. I think he's a reality star.
Oh yeah. But another guy didn't. I can't remember. All these rappers to me are way back.
But he's not a rapper. He's like a regular white blonde-haired survivor outcast kind of like. I don't even know, but I saw his video. Somebody showed it to me. He's like, dude, $11,000. It's like everybody's trying to pretend all their card games are Magic, you know, and like. First edition, like that's what Yu-Gi-Oh's doing. They're like, oh, this one common is like $10, but it's unplayable, but it's first edition from this set. Yeah, we get it. It's collectible, but in the end, we all know it's a crap card that like people threw away, thus creating its rarity, right? Because nobody held on to it.
Well, it's all about supply and demand, and it's always about who's willing to pay for it. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
I mean, I could put, a beautiful copy of a foil version of Step Aside up on eBay and put up there for $1 million. And all it takes is one idiot to buy it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's kind of where we're at. And it's a strange market right now. It's like, you know, I don't know how active you are actually. Are you being aggressive about trying to keep up with the Raw Deal stuff? Or are you so busy with your Magic stuff, because that's still an ongoing thing, in Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, that it's affecting your time?
I try to be all over the place. Magic is the one I most often trade, buy and sell locally, and a bit like what's it called, through the website. But the thing is with Raw Deal, it's so easy. Like it's easy in the sense that if it's a unique foil and you have like 10 copies, every time you sell one, you could easily just adjust the price. You have to, like, you can't. If I see like in the last 4 months, I've sold 10 copies of like, I don't know, I want to say Paid Late and Made, because that's probably a correct assumption. I started it at $35. Now it's like almost $60. Well, that's because every time we went to 40, 45, little chunks of twos, whatever. And it's like the price hike never really affected people's willingness to buy the card to complete their sets or to resell it. The Armageddon is upon us. I sold at 125 or $135. I recently saw an eBay listing that sold at like 200 or some ridiculous price.
Oh,
And
really?
like
I saw the highest I saw was 145.
oh, okay. But
I
I
mean, I
believe
don't know. I'm not like I guess I'm not like you and Scott. I don't monitor eBay on a
no,
regular
no, I
basis.
don't use eBay, but
Oh,
somebody had mentioned that the card was like spiking on eBay. Or anyways, I just took a look because eBay, I've seen garbage cards sell for $5. Like I've seen a punch sell for $3. You know, like whatever, anything goes. But yeah, like I legit saw like some of these cards going for crazy prices, and I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the people I'm just selling to off my site are just reflipping it on eBay. Well, good for them, you know.
Yeah,
Like
sure. Well, you
I
got what
don't.
you wanted out of it, and they're getting
Yeah,
what they want out of it.
exactly.
I've always had a problem with people like that. When I work in the convention scene, I work with a lot of different talent. I always have a problem when I hear about another talent who's like, this is my price. Okay, well, I want to buy this. Da, da, da. Well, I'm going to personalize it. Why? I don't want you to personalize. I just want to make. Well, I don't want you to put up on eBay. Well, what do you care if I put up on eBay? Because I have talent that I've worked with, and I've seen talent talk like that. Where they say, I don't want you to put it up on eBay. Well, why not? Well, because they're going to go make more money on it. Well, then charge me more. Then,
Yeah.
if you're only charging me $30 for your autograph, and I can sell it online for 60, then
Yeah.
why should you care what I make off of it? But I've always had a problem with that. It's like if you don't like the price, then raise your price.
Pretty much, right?
So
Like,
yeah, it's just we live in interesting times right now, man. It's weird. It's hard to keep up. And granted, yes, I'm home all the time now because I'm Mr. Mom, but I get to be home all the time. I just don't monitor the online sales as much as I probably should. I actually Facebook groups for me. I learn a lot from the Facebook groups because I see what is really in demand from there. So
oh, same here. Same
that's where
here.
all the demand really seems to be at. Those are the true buyers and sellers right there, I think. The buys on eBay are just trying to flip for a quick thing. I mean, I don't know. It's just interesting to try to follow it all.
Well, I've also seen I don't remember the name of it, but it was a British online Raw Deal store. Well, maybe they had more than Raw Deal, but their prices were ridiculous, and they're all in pounds too, right? So there's that multiplier, and I'm like, wow, these people, they actually managed to sell cards at these prices. Like, it's insane. I'm like, no kidding. A lot of my customers are from the UK.
Mine too.
Yeah, yeah. Because his price is like, wow. I don't know if the guy just like super high priced everything and he's like, whatever.
I think it's the same guy that was selling virtual stuff.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I made that's just another whole conversation. I'm toying with the idea of having a conversation with detractors of mine who like to talk about the whole virtual stuff and the pro printing and stuff like that. And I have nothing to hide behind like that. So I want to see if these guys really want to step up and have a conversation about it. They want to have an adult grown up conversation. I'd be more than happy to do it like that. But I just kind of feel like a lot of keyboard warriors out there want to hide behind their keyboard. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting, man. I feel like I wanted to get your opinion on what was going on, how things are affecting you. Sales still going pretty good for you though?
Like, it's so bad to like be like, well, they're going really good because of COVID, but I really want COVID to end, even though I don't even care if my sales go like super down. I'm just like, please just freaking put everything back to normal. Whatever, like profit margins be damned. Like I just really want, like I play like Magic a lot, and I really want that experience to play against somebody across the table and be like, have fun. Like that's one of my things. That and video games, right?
Yep.
So like video games, you can play Infinite right now, but
Sure.
like online, it's not the same. Like I could also play Arena online, but it's not the same feeling. And also trading is like something I really like doing in Magic, and I can't really do that right now. Well, almost not can't do that right now. So like just seeing people out there enjoying themselves, like this is what the point of these card games was to begin with, right? It's instead of playing freaking blackjack or whatever with your friends. You play
Sure.
Magic instead, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of like, it's cool at the same time, but I really like no.
I think one thing start to open up because there are a lot of guys in the Raw Deal community that are looking to open up. They're formulating plans right now for 2021 to have events in these territories and these areas. Now it's like that. It's gone beyond like, for a while there. The only one I really recognized was like Luke. Luke Lash. He was running some great stuff out there. But and I name drop him almost every damn episode now. It seems like that guy should pay me. But it's there's a lot of guys now who are kind of creating their own little groups now, trying to, they want to start doing some tournaments here and there. They want things to get back to normal play, that human interactivity. So I think that once things start opening up, I think players are going to want to come back in and go like, oh, I played in an event, but I got to bolster up my deck now. I'm going to go back online, buy some more stuff, blah, blah. So I think it'll still kind of be okay for a while, and then it might taper off again once things become back to the normal again.
I feel also once people realize that the stuff they invested in didn't really like appreciate as much as they thought it would, they're probably going to start reselling it back to dealers,
sure,
to online shops. So that's probably one of the things to look forward to. Hopefully,
you're going to get guys. I don't know for you. I know for me over the years, I've literally had guys that I've sold them stuff. They sold it back to me. I sold it back to them. They sold it back to me.
Oh yeah. I have a lot of Magic customers like that, but for Raw Deal, it's not as common, I find.
Well, there's not many of them. There's not as many of them.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, well, interesting talk, Steve. It's always a pleasure talking with you. I know the market's really crazy. I'm just curious to see how long it goes for. I think it's going to go for the rest of the year. But I like to check up with you and Scott every once in a while, kind of see how things are going. I like kind of talking shop with you guys and seeing, what your viewpoints are on the market and what's kind of going on. Because you guys do a lot more than I do. You guys do a lot heavy more sales than I do. And I just specialize in the Raw Deal stuff. So, but it's always good to get some perspective.
Well, if you ever do another show about like, I guess the mechanics of the game or different eras of Raw Deal, let me know, because I'd definitely be interested in something like that as well.
We've had some. We Creed and Nate and I break down releases. We have one coming up. We have scheduled. I checked the calendar, but we're going to be doing our second virtual one. We're going to cover virtual 2 and 3. We did virtual 1 already once before. We don't go any particular order. We kind of go over the board. And most of our stuff's been all the ladder stuff. We took care of like, we've already covered Unforgiven, SS3, Royal Rumble, No Way Out, Great American Bash. I think I did one with Drew. We covered Backlash. And then so we have some of the older ones to kind of talk about too, and when the first time Chain and Heat and Volley were all introduced, kind of stuff. And then we'll probably run through all the revolutions in one episode.
Did you guys mention that pretty much Backlash saved the game?
There's difference of opinions of that. Some actually left the game because they didn't like the Backlash.
Oh man, those one-turn kills were brutal. Like, I feel Backlash, if that thing didn't exist, if that concept didn't happen.
Yeah, but Backlash introduced right to censor, and right to censor dominated everything.
Well, Backlash definitely introduced the Backlash deck.
Yes.
And that prevented you from getting stomped. And I think that definitely upgraded. It brought the game to a whole new level for sure.
Of course. Yeah, we'll talk about it. If you're interested in a particular thing, offline, shoot me a message. Let me know what particular release you're interested in.
Cool.
And we'll talk about it. We'll do a whole set breakdown with that.
All right, man.
Cool, man. I really appreciate your time.
All right. Same here.
All right. We'll get together again soon. All right.
Yeah.
All right, man.